Here's a play that came up recently that there was some debate about in our chouette. Red to play 6-1. There's obviously three plays that make sense. Coming out and hitting, making the bar point, making the 2 point. I don't think anything else is much of a candidate. You might just safety the checker from the 12 point, but that doesn't seem to be too good a candidate. So you've got three good candidate plays. What would you do and how do you decide? So I'll be quiet for a second and let you decide. It's a money game. Red's holding the cube. Okay. One of the ways that I think is always fun in looking at different variables is to think about what each play accomplishes. Uh, this accomplishes making the 2 point and removing a direct shot. That's two very good things that it accomplishes. However, making the 2 point isn't that good a thing. Losing your builder for the bar point is losing something valuable, and but it does accomplish two things. Making the bar accomplishes one thing. It makes a good point. However, it creates two outfield blots that can be hit with 8s and 9s, and it doesn't help the fact that you still have this blot. So when you add up all the shots that you can get hit with, all the 2s plus double 1s plus the 8s and 9s, that's a lot of shots, plus the fact that if either of these checkers get hit, it's helped blue quite a bit by getting a checker into the outfield and giving him pretty strong outfield control. So that's a pretty big negative of that play. And lastly, hitting here accomplishes a couple things. It puts another one of blue's checkers back, and it gets one of your back checkers out, which is one of your goals, keeps outfield control. Of course, one of the fears of bringing this checker out is your fear of getting hit. Well, I'm not that worried about getting hit here by bringing this checker out, because the odds are pretty much the same. If you don't hit this checker and you make the bar point, for example, he's got all 2s plus double 1 is 12 shots. When you hit, he's got 3s plus double 1 and double 2 is 13 shots. So it's pretty close. There's each 136 is worth a little less than 3%, 2.78%. So we've given him 2.78% more chance of hitting here. One of the concerns of coming out and hitting is that he can also come in with a 1-5, 1-4, 2-5, and 2-4 and hit this remaining checker. And of course, with a 3-5 or a 3-4, he hits this checker and this checker, which he probably should and would do. So you got some very bad rolls that way. The clear play is to hit. It does accomplish two wonderful things: putting another checker back. It keeps your checkers in play and in front of them, and it gets these back checkers moving. And it's not really close. Your game plan becomes very strong if you can get these back checkers moving, and you're not under tremendous threat with one checker up on the bar. And if he doesn't hit you, and there's quite a few rolls that don't, you are in pretty good shape here. You're in great shape, in fact, holding the cube. Now, if you can't see or visualize why this is better, I've shown this before, but I'm going to show it again because I think it's an incredible tool. I'm going to hit Control C that copies this position, and I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to open up another version of Extreme Gammon. You can have as many versions open at once as you want. No action. And I'm going to open even a third copy of Extreme Gammon. No action. I'm going to put my cursor in here and hit Control V, and I've now pasted the position in as it was originally. And I'm going to go ahead and complete, well, let's take a look at the original once more. And making the 2-point was the second best play. Not a whole lot better than making the bar point. But I'm going to go ahead and compare just the top 2 plays for now. So I'm going to make the 2-point in one of these versions and put blue on roll. And I'm going to move this thing down pretty much out of the way. And I'm going to go to Analyze, Dice Distribution, and take a look graphically after making that play of all of blue's next rolls and what kind of equity he has, good and bad, from every one of his possible rolls. Now I'm going to go to that third version, hit Control V, putting in the original position, and I'm going to complete the correct play, or the best play, and I'm going to put blue on roll. I'm going to move this thing down out of the way. I'm going to hit Analyze, Dice Distribution, put it on Graph, and now side by side compare the best play and what happens to your opponent after you make the best play. How many really good rolls are there, and how good are they? This top level is close to 50. The top level here is close to 30. So he's got 3 rolls that are going to give him a little over 30%. He's got a couple rolls here that put him over 40%, another 3 rolls that are higher than 30%, and then some middle-ish rolls that are between 10 and 20%. And this is pretty much the same, a whole bunch of middle-ish rolls. When you make the best play, look at all the rolls that are bad for him. There's 3 horrible rolls. Those are the ones where he dances after you hit him. And all 3 of those are terrible, so that's not a lot of rolls. But the rest of the rolls, where are they? They're in the 30 to 50% range, and this is much flatter. Overall, you can see that the swings are not as great when you make the 2-point as when you hit. But the upside, by making the right play, is there's a lot more downside than upside. Another way you can see it is by actually looking at the individual rolls. It might help you think about, oh yeah, I'm giving him a real joker, double 3, double 2. Those are big jokers when I hit him. When I don't hit him, I'm giving him some other really big jokers, 6-5, 5-3, 6-2. You can see how they play by bringing these back up and looking at them, which you can't do, by the way, while the graph is open. That's why I move these down. Another way to really compare the 2 plays, remember this is the better play, is to look at the details, and you'll see that the average after making the 2-point, his average equity is plus 0.003. His average equity after making the hit is minus 0.099. So you can get a very dramatic graphical understanding and comparison of the 2 plays by looking at your dice distribution numbers, and of course you can go down and see how every roll plays. But this would helps me a lot when I'm not quite sure of the differences between 2 plays. Let's go back to the original position, and in this original position, if your extreme gammon looks like this, I recommend you get rid of these bars. I mean, Xavier likes them and he reads them and knows how to use these, but it doesn't mean it's gibberish to me. I right click and hit display winning percent as values so that I can really look at the differences. When I make the right play, I'm going to win the game 50% of the time. I'm going to win gammons 15% of the time. If you make the 2-point, you're only going to win 45% of the time. You win 5% less, and you win 2% fewer gammons. So that's a pretty good graphic description of the 2 plays. Now, of course, when I make the right play, I'm also getting gammoned 5% more. That's the negative and that's why the difference is only 10% or 0.100, which equates to roughly a 10% difference between the plays, which is a pretty big difference. That's a blunder is an 8% is considered a blunder, and you see that this is in red, which tells you that according to the default settings this is a blunder. So I hope this helps you look at the analysis better. I didn't get into more detail about why the hitting is a better play here, and one of the best ways to come up with that is using a methodology called MCV, most common variation, which looks at what is most likely to happen after you hit, what's he most likely to do on his next roll, and how are you most likely to respond, and what's most likely to happen if you make the 2-point on his next roll. Of course, as you saw, 6-5 was a big joker, and also any 8 that hits. Here, you still have this blot is a big joker. 2-1's pretty good roll for him. 4-1, 4-2. He's got a lot of really good rolls if you just make the 2-point. When you hit, the only good rolls he has are probably, except for a couple of really big jokers, are rolls that hit twice. But even rolls that hit, most of the time you're going to get hit once, and you have all kinds of return shots, and you can still recover. When you get hit twice, you might even still be able to recover with an immediate hit or a lucky double 4 or something like that. So it's not the end of the earth either way. You cannot be doubled out because you're holding the cube, and where the cube is also a major factor in these kinds of plays. Hope you got something out of this that will stimulate your thought process and help you be a better checker player in the future. Bye-bye.